There's a town in Alaska where you can't be buried because the ground refuses to thaw. And yes, individuals are still moving there, but not to 10 other states. Across America, migration patterns are flipping. Not just where individuals move to, but where they won't go near. Even if the job's excellent, even if the rent is low. Forget the headlines. Beneath all the taxes and crime noise, something deeper is happening. States are being quietly abandoned by teachers, by nurses, by entire generations because the long-term math just discontinued making sense. In this countdown, we're exposing the 10 U.S. states Americans are actively avoiding. And why? Not in a top 10 fluff piece manner. We're discussing towns with no delivery drivers remaining, entire counties where hospitals have vanished, climate maps that basically articulate, don't invest here. One state on this list is so broke the rich are departing. Another, flooded, burning, and still building condos like it's fine. Contemplate. You understand which states made the cut. Contemplate again. Because by the conclusion of this video, you'll observe American mobility in a whole new light, and maybe initiate checking your own zip code a little differently. Subscribe before your state makes subsequent years list. Let's break it down. Number 10, Rhode Island, where home prices insult your salary. There's a city in Rhode Island where the median home price is $450,000 and the average salary is $53,000. So either everyone's rich or no one owns a calculator. Rhode Island, small state, surprisingly big problems. It's the state version of a cute apartment with a busted heater and a landlord who only responds to text in Morse code. While the ocean views and colonial architecture articulate cozy New England charm, the data articulates something else entirely. The numbers: cost of living, 22% above the national average, property tax is third highest in the country, electricity bills top 5 every year, infrastructure ranked 42nd, yep, that's pothole territory, job market sluggish. The unemployment rate in cities like Providence has been persistently higher than national averages since before TikTok was a thing. What's the fallout? Here's the emotional gut punch. People want to appreciate Rhode Island. The coastline is stunning. The seafood's legit. Providence possesses a thriving art scene, if you can afford to hang out in it. But nearly 30% of young adults born in Rhode Island don't stick around. They're not just departing the town, they're departing the whole state. Why? Because when rent for a one-bedroom hits $1,900 and you're getting paid $16 per hour to sling lattes, the math doesn't just discontinue functioning, it initiates insulting you. Because nobody dreams of spending 45 minutes in I-95 traffic just to drive 7 miles. Because yes, the winters are technically shorter than in Maine, but the cold experience is personal here. Let's talk parking tickets. You'll wake up to a $100 ticket because you parked on the incorrect side during a snow emergency that concluded 2 days ago. It didn't snow, it rained. Also, shout out to the drivers who treat blinkers like emotional vulnerabilities. Blink once and someone will literally speed up to block you. It's not passive aggression, it's sport. Picture this. You walk outside in January, the wind slaps your face like it's mad at you personally. Your coffee's cold in 30 seconds, a seagull steals your bagel, you're late to function, your rent's due, and your neighbor's snowblower just won't discontinue. Charming, huh? Rhode Island isn't falling apart, it's coasting on nostalgia, shoreline views, and the hope that nobody observes too closely at the debt numbers. It's not that individuals are running from something dramatic, it's that they're quietly recognizing the promise isn't keeping up with the price tag, and when small towns discontinue experiencing worth it, individuals depart without a fight. Number 9, Alaska, where it's illegal to die, literally. There's a town in Alaska where it's illegal to expire, not because death is banned, but because your physical body can't decompose in the frozen ground. Welcome to Alaska. Wild, cold, and quietly losing individuals. Alaska is not just remote, it's aggressively remote. And for a while, that was the appeal. No crowds, no traffic, no HOA rules about your pet bear. But these days, fewer and fewer Americans are willing to trade comfort for rugged solitude. Let's break down. Why net migration? In the last decade, Alaska has lost nearly 50,000 residents to the lower 48,000. Cost of living, 24% higher than the national average. Groceries alone are 30 to 40% more. Eggs shouldn't experience like a financial decision. Healthcare access, ranked 46th in the U.S., with rural clinics closing and some towns possessing zero OBGYNs. Job market, oil money's drying up, and outside Anchorage or Fairbanks, employment is, let's articulate, spiritually optional. Crime rate, Alaska consistently ranks top 5 in violent crime per capita, especially domestic abuse. Reddit quote. You move here for freedom and stay because you can't afford the gas to depart. What's it actually like to live here? Let's articulate. You appreciate nature. You appreciate solitude. You own a snowmobile named Kevin. Excellent. But even for the tough and wilderness-ready, Alaska is initiating to experience like a logistical nightmare wrapped in a tax incentive. Shipping delays are a manner of existence. Seasonal depression? Make that months-long darkness. Internet speed? You'd load a YouTube video today and finish observing it sometime subsequent week. Where it gets political, the state government attempted to keep individuals around with the permanent fund dividend, basically an annual oil revenue check for just existing in Alaska. Back in the beneficial years, that check was OV, or $2,000. In 2023, around $1,300, and dropping. Inflation consumes it. The cost of heating oil laughs at it. Alaska's state budget has become dangerously tied to oil prices. When oil crashes, services get slashed, libraries close, roads go unplowed, teachers get pink slips. Alaska possesses no state income tax, but also somehow no money, because when oil dips, there's nothing remaining. No sales tax, no diversified economy, just cuts, cuts, and more cuts. Can we talk about the roads? Imagine hitting a pothole so deep it counts as a zip code. And snowplows? Some towns share one. If that one breaks, well, superior initiate shoveling, buddy. And the daylight situation? In Barrow, there's 1 month where the sun doesn't rise at all. That's not a quirky fact. That's a psychological test. Also, fun fact, your Amazon Prime delivery? Nope. Welcome to Amazon eventually. The reality. Alaska gives you space, but no safety net. It gives you peace, but no convenience. It gives you beauty, but only if you can survive it. And more individuals are articulating, actually, nah. Because when the paycheck isn't oil money, the winters get longer, the services get slashed, and even moose initiate experiencing like competition. You discontinue observing it as an adventure and initiate observing it as a cold, beautiful trap. Would you move to a place where it's dark for 67 days in a row if it meant no neighbors and a $1,300 check once a year? Let me understand in the comments. Brave or bonkers? Alaska isn't failing. But it's becoming a place only a specific category of individual can endure. The ones who stay? Hardcore, stoic, basically part wolf. The ones who depart? Just tired of survival mode. Number 8. Connecticut. Peaked in '98 and still reminds you about it. Connecticut is like that individual who went to an Ivy League school, peaked in '98 and still reminds you about it at brunch. On paper, Connecticut should be a dream. Location, prime, tucked between Boston and New York. Scenery, gorgeous. Classic New England charm with a fresh coat of generational wealth. Jobs, corporate heavyweights, finance, biotech, insurance, schools, some of the optimal public schools in the country, depending on your zip code. It sells itself as East Coast elite meets small-town peace, a place where you can sip espresso on your porch and day trade before lunch. But then you observe closer, and suddenly the dream initiates fraying at the edges like an expensive blazer from 2006. Let's hit the receipts. Population growth, dead flat. Fewer individuals inhabit in CT now than in 2013. Taxes, 7.75% state income tax, 6.35% sales tax, and property taxes, so aggressive they make Californians sweat. Cost of living, 18% above national average. Gas prices, top 10 in the nation regularly. Business climate, ranked number 46 by CNBC for economic friendliness. Local Reddit quote. You get taxed like you inhabit in Manhattan, but then you observe around and you're in Waterbury. What's driving people out? Connecticut is bleeding individuals. The 2022 census data demonstrates more than 27,000 residents departed the state that year, most of them between the ages of 25 and 45, aka the exact age group that powers an economy. And here's the twist. It's not that individuals hate Connecticut, they just can't afford it. Or maybe more accurately, they don't want to keep affording it. Because for what you pay to inhabit in Stamford, you could own a 5-bedroom in Raleigh with palm trees and a Tesla charger. Even the rich are initiating to notice. High-income earners are fleeing to Florida, Texas, and New Hampshire to dodge the tax burden, and now Connecticut's income tax base is shrinking. Not excellent for a state that relies heavily on high earners to fund everything else. Let's talk Hartford. Connecticut's state government possesses one of the worst pension obligations in the U.S., over $90 billion in unfunded liabilities. Translation: the state spent like a hedge fund and saved like a teenager. And now, to keep up with those promises, they're turning to, you guessed it, higher taxes, less spending on infrastructure, more pressure on municipalities. This trickles down to you: toll proposals, shrinking services, and roads that appear like they've been personally assaulted by winter. And while there's been reform discussion, the deep structure hasn't transformed. It's band-aids over bullet holes. Oh, and the weather. Winter's just New England attempting to delete you. I'm discussing ice storms, surprise blizzards, and wind so cold it makes your eyeballs regret being moist. And traffic? Beneficial luck navigating I-95 through Fairfield County at 5 o'clock p.m. It's less of a commute, more of a multi-hour existential crisis set to the soundtrack of broken turn signals and rage. Picture this: you're in a charming Connecticut town, beautiful homes, gas-lit sidewalks. You grab a fresh croissant from a local cafe that opens when it experiences like it. Then drive past a Maserati dealership and a boarded-up Toys R Us on the same block. Your kid's public school is ranked number 5 in the nation. 3 towns over, it's ranked 239. But hey, you're only 90 minutes from NYC, on paper. On I-95, it's more like 5 hours and an emotional collapse. Connecticut possesses the 4th highest outbound migration rate, but ranks first in individuals who articulate, "We're contemplating of moving, but we appreciate the seasons." Remember when Rhode Island experienced like the charming guest house with no heat? Well, Connecticut is the full mansion, stunning exterior, broken boiler, and a monthly bill that experiences like a ransom note. Connecticut isn't failing because it's detrimental. It's failing because it contemplates it's still winning. It's inhabiting on prestige, history, and a tax structure from the Gilded Age, while younger, cheaper, more nimble states sprint past it. People aren't fleeing in anger. They're just choosing superior deals. Number 7, Louisiana, where land disappears faster than population. Louisiana is the only place where the land is disappearing faster than the population. And somehow, neither one is the largest emergency. Louisiana should be winning, and that's the tragedy. Louisiana possesses culture you can't fake. Music that bleeds into the street. Food that makes individuals close their eyes mid-bite. History so thick it hums. This should be a magnet state. Instead, individuals are quietly packing up and departing. Let's talk facts. Population trend. Louisiana has lost tens of thousands of residents since 2020, with net domestic outmigration accelerating every year. Crime. Louisiana regularly ranks in the top 3 states for violent crime per capita. New Orleans often trades places with St. Louis for the top spot nationally. Insurance. Home insurance premiums have doubled or tripled in some parishes after repeated hurricanes. Some insurers just departed. Education. Bottom 5 nationally for K-12 outcomes. Healthcare, ranked 49th overall. Entire rural parishes are medical deserts. And yet rent is still climbing, wages aren't. Local Reddit comment. Every year experiences like rebuilding your existence after a storm, financially or literally. Where it gets uncomfortable, Louisiana's state government has spent decades reacting instead of planning. The economy is heavily dependent on oil, gas, and petrochemicals, industries that fluctuate wildly and automate aggressively. When prices dip, jobs vanish. When hurricanes hit, infrastructure crumbles. Federal disaster money keeps the lights on, but it doesn't build a future. And instead of long-term investment in education, flood prevention, or economic diversification, Louisiana's leadership keeps playing defense, cutting budgets, patching roads, and hoping the subsequent storm misses. It rarely does. The result? A state that survives but doesn't advance, and individuals notice. What does living here I feel like? Living in Louisiana is emotional whiplash. 1 minute you're dancing in the street at a second line. The subsequent, you're checking a hurricane tracker like it's a stock portfolio. Let's talk consequences. You don't plan long-term housing. You plan evacuation routes. You don't compare school districts. You compare exit strategies. You don't inquire, is this a beneficial neighborhood? You inquire, how fast can I get out if something goes sideways? Here's the contrast that hits hardest. Vermont and Louisiana possess nearly the same population size. One is among the safest states in America. The other consistently ranks among the most dangerous. Same country, completely different lived reality. Let's talk erosion. Louisiana loses a football field of coastline every hour. That's not poetic. That's aggressive erosion. At this rate, the ocean isn't creeping in. It's clocking in. And let's discuss humidity. This isn't "it's hot." This is soup with opinions. You step outside and your clothes immediately surrender. Your phone fogs. Your willpower dissolves. And traffic lights? Optional suggestions. If you observe someone discontinue fully at a red light in New Orleans, that's either a tourist or someone with excellent insurance. Why people leave. Individuals don't depart Louisiana because they hate it. They depart because loving it is exhausting. You can only rebuild so many occasions. You can only accept that's just how it is for so long. At some point, survival discontinues experiencing noble and initiates experiencing unfair. And when younger families observe at the math, crime, schools, insurance, wages, they don't argue with it. They move. Louisiana isn't broken. It's overburdened by geography, by history, by leadership that keeps choosing resilience over reform. And resilience is powerful, but it's not infinite. Number 6, Illinois. Expensive, exhausted, and still paying for promises made before Wi-Fi. Illinois isn't losing individuals because it's boring. It's losing individuals because it's expensive, exhausted, and still paying for promises made before Wi-Fi. Illinois should be unstoppable. And that's the problem. Illinois possesses everything a powerhouse state requires. A world-class city, rail, road, river, top universities, a diversified economy. And yet, individuals are departing, quietly, consistently. Here's the data. Net migration. Illinois has lost hundreds of thousands of residents over the last decade to domestic outmigration, taxes. Among the highest overall tax burdens in the Midwest, property taxes especially brutal, pensions, over $140 billion in unfunded pension liabilities, worst funded system in the country. Crime. Chicago isn't the whole state, but it dominates perception, headlines, and investor confidence. Job growth. Slower than peer states like Indiana, Wisconsin, and Missouri. This isn't collapse, it's erosion, and erosion is harder to discontinue. Illinois didn't wake up broken. It aged into it. For decades, state leadership, both parties, used the same trick. Kick the pension bill down the road, borrow, refinance, hope growth bails you out. It didn't. Now Illinois spends more on pensions than on higher education. Read that again. That means higher taxes, fewer services, and a constant background hum of something's going to break. The state recently improved its credit rating slightly, beneficial news, but it's still near the bottom nationally. Investors observe progress, residents observe bills, and when residents initiate accomplishing the math, they depart. What living in Illinois actually feels like. If you're in Chicago, you get culture, food, architecture, and energy. You also get high rent, rising property taxes, and headlines that never let the city catch its breath. If you're outside Chicago, different story. Downstate Illinois is losing population faster than almost anywhere in the Midwest. Towns built around manufacturing observe jobs vanish. So, individuals inquire themselves a simple question. Why stay here when the subsequent state over costs less and inquires less of me? And that's the killer. Not fear, not anger. Comparison. The brain relocation. Illinois possesses one of the most educated workforces in the country and one of the highest rates of educated individuals departing. That's not a brain drain, that's a brain relocation. Let's talk winter. This isn't cozy snow. This is wind-assisted regret. You don't walk in Chicago. You lean. Your face goes numb. Your soul considers remote function in Arizona. And the potholes? Some of them possess zip codes. You hit one, and your alignment files a missing person report. Illinois doesn't push individuals out with chaos. It wears them down with responsibility. You experience like you're constantly paying for yesterday, not investing in tomorrow. And when younger families recognize their taxes aren't building superior schools, safer streets, or smoother roads, they don't protest. They relocate. Illinois isn't failing because it lacks potential. It's failing because it refuses to reset. Too many promises, too little flexibility, too much weight for one generation to carry. People don't depart mad. They depart tired. Number 5. New Mexico. Looks like a postcard. Lives like a rough draft. New Mexico appears like a postcard, but inhabits like a rough draft. New Mexico is beautiful. That's not the problem. New Mexico is one of the most visually stunning states in America. Substantial sky, endless silence, sunsets that experience personal. It attracts artists, retirees, and individuals who articulate things like, "I just want space." And then reality demonstrates up. Here's what the numbers say. Poverty. Consistently ranked top 3 highest poverty rates in the U.S. Crime. Violent crime rate well above the national average. Albuquerque regularly ranks among the most dangerous mid-sized cities. Education. Bottom 5 in K-12 outcomes. Teacher shortages everywhere. Healthcare. Ranked last or near last nationally. Rural hospital closures are common. Job market. Heavily dependent on government, labs, and tourism. Limited private sector growth. This is the paradox of New Mexico. It appears calm. It experiences fragile. Local Reddit comment. It's an excellent place to be poor quietly. The government dependency issue. New Mexico is one of the most government-dependent states in the country. Federal money, military bases, national labs, energy projects props up entire regions. When those budgets tighten or stall, towns freeze. The state government has attempted to assist. Free college programs, childcare initiatives, public investments. But here's the issue. You can't outspend structural poverty without building an economy that sustains itself. Too many communities rely on public sector jobs that don't scale. Too little investment reaches rural infrastructure, healthcare, and workforce pipelines. So even when the state accomplishes something correct, it doesn't travel far enough. Progress, but isolated. What living here actually feels like. Living in New Mexico experiences like time moves slower until something breaks. You're not rushing, you're waiting. Waiting for a doctor's appointment that's 3 counties away. Waiting for a job opening that isn't government or service function. Waiting for schools to stabilize. Waiting for the economy to arrive. And eventually, individuals discontinue waiting. Sharp contrast. Santa Fe is one of the safest, calmest cities in the Southwest. Albuquerque? One of the most violent. Same state, same laws, completely different lived reality. That whiplash wears individuals down. The housing paradox. New Mexico possesses some of the lowest housing costs in the West, and individuals still depart. That's how you understand it's not about rent, it's about everything else. Let's talk distance. Everything is far. Groceries? Far. Doctors? Far. Jobs? Emotionally far. And the roads? Half scenic, half experimental. You'll be driving through breathtaking desert contemplating. Wow, this is peaceful. Then you hit a pothole so deep, your car initiates inquiring questions about its purpose. New Mexico doesn't scream at you, it whispers limitations. You don't experience pushed out, you experience capped, like there's a ceiling you can observe, but never break through. And when young families or ambitious workers recognize their growth curve is flatter here, they don't complain, they go. Be honest. Would you trade career growth for perfect weather and silence? Yes or no? Or only if Wi-Fi improves? Drop it in the comments. If this made you uncomfortable, hit appreciate. That's how I understand it landed. And subscribe. not because I'm begging, but because one of these states might be on your shortlist, and future you deserves a warning label. Consider it a preventative existence decision. Cheap, painless, mildly heroic. New Mexico isn't a detrimental place. It's a limited one. Beautiful, calm, honest. But if you want momentum, you'll probably possess to import it or depart to find it. Number 4. West Virginia, where the mountains are older than America, and so is the economy. West Virginia is the state where the mountains are older than America, and somehow the economy experiences that age too, a place defined by place itself and struggling because of it. The scenery is undeniable. West Virginia possesses the category of scenery postcards used without permission. Skylines made of ridges, rivers that carve valleys like well-read books, forests that make you inhale deeper just by observing them. And yet, individuals are departing. Let's break down the core truths. Population loss. West Virginia consistently ranks among the fastest shrinking states in the nation, losing residents year after year. Economic stagnation. Median household income hovers near the bottom of U.S. states. Job market, dominated historically by coal. Diversification has lagged, and new industries haven't filled the gap. Healthcare shortages. Rural hospitals shutter constantly. Medical deserts are genuine here. Education outcomes. Below. National averages across multiple indicators. Real Reddit. Quote, "You appreciate these hills, sure, until you recognize they're the same hills making it hard to get high-speed internet." West Virginia's story has a villain. Decades of economic dependence on extractive industries and a government that was slow to pivot. For generations, leadership leaned on coal like a crutch that snapped, then couldn't find a cane. State governments have attempted. Tax incentives, workforce grants, tech accelerator initiatives, tourism marketing campaigns. But none of these move the needle when basic services are uneven, rural roads crumble, broadband doesn't reach half the towns, healthcare systems are fraying. Anything that experiences like progress slowly leaks out as young workers chase paychecks elsewhere. Economists call this a structural employment gap. Everyone else calls it departing for the future. What living in West Virginia actually feels like. In West Virginia, existence doesn't rush you. It slows you down in a manner that's comforting until it isn't. The air smells like wood smoke and possibility at sunrise, until you recognize the nearest hospital is 50 miles away. Sharp comparison. Wyoming and West Virginia possess similar populations. Wyoming possesses the lowest crime rate in the country. West Virginia's is closer to the middle, but perception places it higher. That nuance matters when you're choosing where to raise kids. The income gap. Jobs in West Virginia pay less than the national median, about $48,000 versus U.S. median of $67,000. And many of the jobs that are available are seasonal, project-oriented, or tied to government transfers. There's grit here, there's pride, but there's also a ceiling, and it's weirdly low for a place that experiences so substantial. The demographic warning. West Virginia possesses more adults over 65 than under 18 in some counties. That's not a demographic trend, that's an exit wound. Let's talk logistics. Everywhere is a little far. The grocery store? A little far. The doctor? A little further. The Wi-Fi? Somewhere beyond the horizon on a beneficial day. You swear the hills are judging your data plan. Your car experiences like it's training for a rally raid. And your coffee shop only possesses 2 seats and 3 opinions about who should have won last season's football game. It's charming, until you require literally anything. West Virginia doesn't repel individuals with chaos. It seduces them with beauty, then nudges them out with economics. Individuals don't depart screaming. They depart with a quiet sense of practicality, and that's more impactful. West Virginia isn't disappearing, but its individuals are quietly redistributing themselves towards stability, not because they don't appreciate these mountains, but because beauty doesn't pay the bills. Number 3. Hawaii. Paradise that slowly priced out its own residents. Hawaii is paradise that slowly priced out its own residents, and now the individuals who can afford it are the only ones still departing. Let's define the Hawaii paradox. Hawaii experiences like the dream version of America. Tropical sunsets, volcanic backdrops, ocean that appears like a Photoshop filter. But paradise possesses a price tag, and it's getting ridiculous. Here's the real picture. Cost of living. Highest in the U.S. Groceries, gas, utilities, everything. Median home price, often above $800,000 statewide. In Honolulu, over $1 million. Wages. Median income trails mainland equivalents, even in substantial cities. Outmigration. More residents depart Hawaii each year than arrive from other U.S. states. Tourism dependency. Up to 30% of the state's economy depends on tourism. Mostly part-time, low-wage jobs. That's the structural setup. Beautiful location, plus high costs, plus limited economic diversification. And it's catching up to individuals. The government challenge. Hawaii state leadership hasn't failed. It's over-indexed on a model that relies heavily on tourism taxes and imported goods. You literally import most of what you consume. Fuel, cars, construction materials, electronics, all shipped across the ocean with markup. The legislature protects lifestyle factors, protection of land use, limits on high-density development, strict environmental rules, excellent for nature, tough for housing supply. Then there's the tax structure. No general sales tax, but high excise taxes and fewer revenue options. Local government leans on hotel and tourism fees, which functioned until prices got so high that fewer workers could even afford inhabiting there. The dilemma. The state confronts a dilemma. Protect the brand of paradise plus limit development, but that limits housing and jobs. So prices surge, workers depart, then services shrink. It's the paradox of preservation versus growth. Hawaii chose beauty, and now it's paying for it. What living in Hawaii actually feels like, living in Hawaii is like being on vacation, until you check your bank account. Contemplate of this. Dinner at a mid-range restaurant will hit you like a semi-final exam without the joy of completion. A gallon of milk? Sometimes 60–80% more than the mainland. Rent? Laughably high for whatever you get. Sometimes a studio the size of a closet with ocean peak view jobs. Heavily weighted in hospitality, tourism, service sectors, government, high-tech, finance, corporate HQ, those are islands off the main islands in terms of opportunity. Local Reddit. Quote, "It's the only place where your resume appears excellent, but your rent consumes it at every meal." Hawaii exports individuals like coffee exports beans, steadily, with bittersweet flavor. Let's talk humidity. It's not just warm. It's aspiration stew mixed with sticky sleeves. You step outside and your shirt instantly adds 2 pounds of its own sweat. Your shoes quietly slip-slide like they're auditioning for water ballet. And mosquitoes? They're like tiny AI, are born negotiators. Give us blood. We want respect. Beautiful? Yes. Comfortable. Only if you treat comfort like a unicorn. Excellent in photos, rare in reality. Hawaii's challenge isn't crime. It isn't weather. It's economics consuming culture alive. When you possess the most expensive basics on average in the nation, groceries, utilities, rent, individuals eventually discontinue calling it home and initiate calling it vacation. You can't inhabit off postcards. Hawaii is the ultimate contradiction. It's too expensive to inhabit in, but too beautiful to depart quickly. It's paradise until reality demonstrates up behind you with a price tag. Number 2. Mississippi. Never gets a second chance. Mississippi isn't the worst state in America. It's just the one that never gets a second chance. Mississippi's reputation didn't come from nowhere. Mississippi is warm, it's slow, it's deeply human, and statistically, it's at the bottom of almost everything that keeps individuals alive and upward moving. Let's talk numbers, not vibes. Poverty. Mississippi possesses the highest poverty rate in the U.S. Median household income, roughly $48,000. Dead last nationally. Healthcare, ranked 50th overall. Rural hospitals are closing at alarming rates. Education. Bottom tier for K-12 outcomes and college attainment. Job market, heavy on low-wage function. Limited high-growth industries. This isn't opinion. This is pattern. Local Reddit comment. You don't depart Mississippi because you hate it. You depart because you want your kids to possess choices. Mississippi's core problem. It's not laziness, it's underinvestment locked in by policy. For decades, state leadership has prioritized low taxes and minimal spending. That keeps costs down, but it also keeps infrastructure, schools, and healthcare underbuilt. When federal money arrives, it fills holes. It doesn't build ladders. Medicaid expansion, rejected for years, education funding, among the lowest per student. Economic development, often focused on attracting low-wage manufacturing instead of long-term skill pipelines, so Mississippi stays cheap, but cheap without opportunity is just stuck. And when young professionals or families run the math, they don't argue with it. They depart. What living here actually feels like, living in Mississippi experiences like inhabiting in a place that expects less from you, and then gives you less in return. It's affordable, sure, but affordability without access is a trap. You might save on rent, but drive an hour to observe a specialist. You might purchase a house cheap, but your kid's school is underfunded. You might appreciate your neighbors, but observe your friends move away one by one. Sharp contrast. Minnesota and Mississippi are both rural-heavy states. One ranks near the top in health and education, the other ranks near the bottom. Same country, different choices. Mississippi is one of the cheapest states to inhabit in, and still one of the hardest to survive long-term. That's not a bargain. That's a warning label. Quick stat. No commentary. Mississippi possesses fewer doctors per capita than almost every other state. Okay, moving on. Let's talk heat. This isn't summer. This is air you chew. You step outside and your physical body immediately accepts defeat. Your car seat burns you. Your iced drink sweats more than you accomplish. And the bugs? They don't bite. They draft paperwork before entering your bloodstream. Lovely evenings, though, if you ignore the humidity attempting to unionize against you. Mississippi doesn't frighten individuals off. It limits them slowly. And limits hurt more than chaos because they experience permanent. You can appreciate a place deeply and still understand it's holding you back. That's the heartbreak here. Remember earlier when we discussed states that whisper limitations instead of shouting them? Yeah, Mississippi wrote that playbook. Mississippi isn't empty because no one wants to inhabit there. It's empty because individuals who want more don't observe a path forward. And until opportunity grows at the same pace as affordability, the exits stay open. Number 1. California. The golden dream that turned into a warning label. California didn't fall off the map. It priced itself off it. The golden dream that turned into a warning label. California. The myth. The mood board. The state individuals used to dream about until Zillow tabs initiated screaming. Sunshine, surf, startups, sequoias, all true. And yet, more individuals are departing than coming. Here's the breakdown. Net domestic outmigration. Over 340,000 individuals departed California in a single year, more than any other state. Median home price, over $840,000 statewide, more than double the national average. Rent. Median rent in cities like San Francisco is $3,000 plus for a one-bedroom the size of a podcast booth. Tax burden. One of the highest in the nation, especially for upper-income earners. Gas prices, often hovering around $5, $6 a gallon, depending on your luck and county. Crime and homelessness. Rising rates in major cities, with San Francisco, Oakland, and LA drawing constant national attention. Regulations. Complex zoning laws and environmental red tape stall housing development endlessly. It's not that individuals hate California, it's that they can no longer afford to appreciate it. Let's be clear, California's state government doesn't lack ambition. It's just playing 4D chess with a brick. This is a state that believes in substantial ideas: green energy, universal health care, climate mandates, gig worker protections, tech regulation, reparations task forces, bullet trains. Sounds excellent, correct? But the core issue, execution. You've got legislation written like TED Talks and delivery like a DMV that forgot your appointment. Take housing. There's broad acknowledgement of the housing crisis, but restrictive zoning, CEQA lawsuits, and fierce NIMBY opposition slow down everything. The result? In 2023, California required 180,000 new homes a year. It built around 110,000. The math's not just detrimental, It's unforgiving. And when state leadership swings between hyper-progressive legislation and regulatory overload, individuals in the middle get crushed. Local Reddit quote: "Living here experiences like possessing a millionaire's view with a middle-class wallet and a bill you didn't agree to." What living in California actually feels like. California is seductive. Every city is its own brand. LA sells fame. San Francisco sells innovation. San Diego sells eternal vacation. The Central Coast sells peace, but none of them are cheap. You can possess a job at Google and still require a roommate. You can pay $5,000 a month and still possess to move your car every 2 hours to avoid street cleaning tickets. Even with money, the lifestyle isn't easy. The growing middle-class evacuation. Not billionaires, not broke, just normal individuals. They're departing for lower cost of living, remote function flexibility, superior schools, less crime, sanity. And here's the twist. They still miss the idea of California. They just can't survive the cost of it. California possesses the 5th largest economy in the world, and individuals are moving to Idaho for relief. Let that sink in. You know what's exhausting? Living in a place where parking is a competitive sport, rent experiences like ransom, ordering avocado toast is a financial decision. Your neighbors are tech execs, TikTokers, or yoga instructors with side hustles in cryotherapy and don't even initiate on wildfires, blackouts, or attempting to register a car at the DMV before 2040. It's not chaos, it's organized inconvenience. California is not failing, it's succeeding in a manner that pushes normal individuals out. It still functions, just not for the individuals who made it matter. And that's not a tragedy, that's a consequence. California's slogan used to be, "Find yourself here." Lately, it's more like, "Lose your savings, then find a U-Haul."